This is Somik from SourceBay, and today we're taking a closer look at the useref hook. So, if you see the documents for useref, it says useref can be used to access a DOM element directly, and it can also be used to store a mutable value that does not cause a re-render when updated. This one is a mouthful, so we'll try to understand this one in a little while. But let's get started with this one first. For our understanding, I have created a simple UI which consists of an input field and just a button. And the functionality that we're trying to achieve is on clicking of this button, we must focus on the input like so. To achieve that, what we'll need to do is have a reference of this input first. And in traditional JavaScript, how you would do that is using something like document.getElementById or document.querySelector and so on. But in React, we have something called the useref, which we can use. To use a useref, we directly import it from React like so. In this case, for our functionality, we need to create a reference to this input element, which we'll do here within the component itself. We'll call it input ref. You can call it anything you want. And now that the reference is created, all you need to do is attach it to the input element itself. So we have the ref attribute provided to us, and all we have to do is pass this input ref to the ref attribute. Final thing that is left to do is add an event listener to this button and add a function to it. Let's say focus on input. We'll call the function input, and we'll define the function here. Const focus input, and all this will do is will grab our reference, grab the current property, and invoke the focus method. That's it. With that simple piece of code, I think our functionality is complete. To test it out, I'll click on this button, and yes, it does focus on the input itself. So that is one perspective of useref, which is to grab hold of a DOM element directly. The other thing it is capable of doing is it can be used to store a mutable value that does not cause a re-render when updated. Okay, let's try to understand this. To understand this, I have prepared a different UI. So I will delete these pieces of code from here and uncomment these. Okay, I will comment out these pieces of code and I will bring out this piece. If I save it, you can see our UI changed a bit. So the functionality is so that if we click the update slash modify button, you will see the count increase by 1 each time, and our log will change each time as well. So the count increased by 1, and one additional log got added to the existing log itself. One more time, you can see the change reflect in both places, right? Cool. So, what is meant by a mutable value? The state in this case is a mutable value which is capable of changing over time. And what is re-rendering? Each time we see any change reflect on the UI, basically that is rendering or re-rendering. Simple. So, in our development use cases or scenarios, there will be many a times where we want a certain value to be stored or updated and mutated over time, but our UI must not necessarily update each time. And for those use cases, what we can use again is something like a useref hook. Okay, so I will comment out the existing pieces of code and make a little bit of changes to it. The first thing we need to do again is to create a reference. I'll call render ref, name it anything again, and we will provide an initial value of 1. We're just replacing this state with this reference. And our functionality will also change a bit. We'll get access to the render ref.current, and all we'll do is increase the value by 1. Okay, now this log that basically comes when we click this button, which we did not showcase it yet. I will change this one also a little bit. This will get its value from the ref rather than the state. So we'll call render ref dot current, and I think one more change is remaining. Yes, this one. This will also get the value from the render ref itself. Okay, and with that, if I save the file, you will see the page render one and additional log get added. So I'll refresh the whole page once for better understanding. Yes, this is our starting point. So you can see the page re-rendered one time and the page rendered log being shown in the console log once. Now, unlike before, if I click this button once, you see neither in the UI itself nor in the log anything changed. I will click outside, I'll click this button once more, which is the second time, and yet nothing changes. But behind the scene, what happens is the value that we have stored in this render ref, it is getting updated, but it is not causing a re-render or repainting of our screen, unlike the state was doing. To test it out, we can press this button to see a log of 3. Initially started with 1 and then we pressed it two times, so it became 3 from 1. To test it out, we'll press this button one more time. We see no change in the UI, but by this time the 3 should become 4 if we press this button, which it rightly does. So these are the two most common use cases or scenarios where you would want to use the useref hook. There are many more use cases that which you will come across in your development career, but these are the two of the most common ones. Okay, I hope this one was helpful, and I will see you later. Bye.